it's really good for family things as well. We have a little baby here, and we installed the car seat. So we're about to impress Stephanie. She's just gonna walk up to the driver's door and not touch anything. I just dropped my Model 3 off for the Hardware 3 upgrade, and I was given Model X as a loaner, and I was really excited, and I figured I could start my comparison of a P90D Model X to a Tesla Model 3 dual motor, because I'm stuck at the supercharger because these things charge really slow. If you look here, 62 kilowatts, 186 miles an hour. If I was here with my Model 3, I would be getting easily double that, more actually. So since I have a little time, let's start this thing off. Starting with interior space, of course, there's more in a Model X. It doesn't feel that much more spacious than a Model 3 to me. I do love this glass roof that's going over your head. The biggest thing I noticed is now I am way higher in my seat, of course, and my legs are kind of more going down like they would in most SUVs. And that is more comfortable than the Model 3, but not something that I feel like I'm missing now that I've experienced it, but it is nice. Part of the reason I want to do this comparison is a P90D, this thing has about 50,000 miles on it, is still more expensive than the dual motor Model 3. And you could cross shop them if you're looking for a Tesla. I love the Model X, and it's something I've really wanted, but it's still out of my budget. These can go for $60,000 to $70,000. As far as interior space goes, if that's what you're looking for, no question, of course you have to consider the Model X. That's where I put my baby when she's in here. So this is the 6-seater version, which is the version I would want if I got the car. And there's plenty of room for 6 people. Of course, we have to do the exterior doors up shot. With a Model X, you get a key fob, which I am not really used to, but that's cool, and I should be able to close the doors with this thing, but they didn't give me any training on how to use it. So, okay, there goes one door, double click that, and there goes the other door. So you can open and close the doors as they squeak closed. I don't know if you could hear that, with the key fob, which is really nice. And you can see the door opened here because I was walking up to it and it opened for me. And that's because the key was in my pocket. If you approach from the back here, you can see the door swings open, much wider to allow you in. Another really cool trick with the key fob, double click, it'll open your front door for you. And then when you get in, just hit the brake. Simple as that. And then when you want to lock it up, you just click the top of this key once. Closes the door, it's locked, you can walk away. Looking at the frunk, this is absolutely massive. I will just place my hand in there and I will try to get you a frunk shot of the Model 3 also with my hand. There is a lot of space in there. Now this is of course one of the best parts of having this type of vehicle, a nice big hatchback. So the space back here is pretty decent. There is a floor right here, which, oh there you go, I don't know how to access, but that just pops right off. Wow, oh my gosh, there's a lot of space in there. That is insane. And then you can just put that back. And then these back seats will go down, which I think you can control from the front screen, but I'm not sure. You have all kinds of latches back here, which is really nice to attach things to. You have some there, you have some on the seat if you leave these up. But if you fold these down, you would have a ton of space back here to store whatever you wanted. As for kids, I'm about to install the car seat, and this is really nice. This is just held on with some Velcro here, and the anchors are down in there. So I'm gonna install that, and putting the baby in will be super easy with these nice doors. Can you double click the, well, here, just walk up. No, you're good. So it's really good for family things as well. We have a little baby here, and we installed the car seat. So we're about to impress Stephanie. She's just gonna walk up to the driver's door and not touch anything. Just opens for her, and you can open the Falcon wing door for me. It's the other end. There you go.
That was my problem.
Yeah, you're pushing the wrong part of the button. And so that opens, and you can just walk right under it, and blam, just plop this baby right in here. And there she is, nice and safe. So, oh there, now she's nice and safe. It wasn't locked. So, ready to go? She's like, what the heck is going on? As for driving the Model X, having these suspension settings is very nice. You can choose very high or high for these back dirt roads. Not that it's a necessity, but it does help you, especially this time of year when the roads are just nothing but potholes everywhere. Driving on normal roads is, of course, really nice. As you speed up, the car will automatically lower the suspension. I usually keep it on low, as very low I hear is not good for the tires, and having it lower is better for aerodynamics. I had a comment earlier about feeling like there's not that much more interior space than the Model 3, and I'm taking that back. I think the reason I was thinking that is, number one, the windshield here doesn't go nearly as low, and it makes the Model 3 feel so open how low the windshield goes and not having anything in front of you here. And last night we took the X for a drive, and I was in the passenger seat, and man, being in the passenger seat, there is a ton of room over there. Of course, in the driver's seat you have the steering wheel and things in your way, and the steering wheel is gigantic. Compared to the Model 3, this thing is huge, but it is heated. So you have the heated seats in this car along with heated steering wheel, which is really nice. Being that this is the performance version, the acceleration is pretty good. I think, oh yeah, it's really good, but I think that this battery pack is old or degraded or not doing the best. The 90% charge on this is around 209 miles, whereas the brand new 100% charge was supposed to be 250 miles. But driving comfort is really good. Of course, you're really high up, which a lot of people like. It makes it kind of easier to get in and out of the car. Actually, when the suspension is on high and you're getting in and out of the car, it can make it more difficult. So when I get home, I like to lower the suspension down to low. You do have Autopilot 1.0 on this car. It has its own separate little stalk in the bottom left. But I found on side streets, it just does not work very well at all. On the highway, it was perfect for me. I mean, I couldn't believe how good it was, especially considering its technology from 2015. It worked really, really well. On this road, though, I used it a few times, and the car kept wanting to go over the line into the other side, and that is with clear roads. It snowed overnight, so I was doing this yesterday, and there was nothing on the roads, and the car just kept wanting to kind of go over the yellow line or sometimes even off to the right. And no big deal if your hands are on the wheel, you just don't let it do that. But it was pretty strange, as my Model 3 has never, ever, ever done that. Okay, so final thoughts on the Model X 2016 P90D. I'm heading back to drop it off. I'm going to pick up my car. Overall, I mean, I do love it. I got off to kind of a rocky start with the car because when they gave it to me, it didn't have much charge, which, you know, they told me. They offered me another car, but, you know, I was like, no, I want the Model X. And I routed home, and it said I was going to get to a supercharger closer to my house with 9%, and I was comfortable with that. That was fine. But right after I started driving, that dropped down to 5%, and I hadn't made it very far, so I wasn't comfortable with that. So I had to backtrack to the supercharger that I started this video at, and the charging speeds were just super slow. And it took forever, you know, compared to the Model 3 anyway. And then when I did get home, you know, I had, I don't know, somewhere around 5% or 8%, something like that. And, you know, that's fine, no worry there. But, you know, I wanted to take the car out with Stephanie and baby. And so I wasn't sure if we'd have enough to even run to the store really quick. I plugged it in immediately. It charged for 2 hours. And then we went for a short drive. We maybe drove a total of 15 miles or 20 miles, let's say, just to be generous. And by the time we got back home, the miles were the same as before I had ever plugged it in. So like 2 hours of charging didn't even get us 20 miles of driving. It was kind of ridiculous. But then once it got a chance to charge overnight, I had a full charge. The battery's pretty degraded. It's supposed to be 225 at 90%, but it's reading 209, which I've heard that with these 90 kilowatt hour packs, so I'm not too surprised by that. But now that I've had more experience with the X, of course, I do love it. So ride comfort, it's really comfortable in here. The chair is nice. Armrests and everything are good. I don't feel like the suspension is all that different from my Model 3 though, and this is an air suspension. I do love raising it, getting on the dirt roads. That's awesome. But as far as like absorbing bumps and like these crappy roads and stuff, I don't notice all that much of a difference. I was pretty surprised by that. The cup holders are like in a really weird, like they're like way back here. I don't know why that is, but like when you go to get a drink, you're like have to reach way back, and so, you know, that's kind of strange. Autopilot 1.0 is actually really good. I'm using it now. It does everything really well. The lane changes, I almost like dare to say are better than in my car, only because I've never had one fail yet, and I'm well over 100 miles now on this car, over 100 on the highway even, and all that time I've never had a single lane change with Autopilot 1.0 fail. So I'm really enjoying Autopilot 1. If you don't care about updates and stuff, that's a non-issue. It's great. One of the big negatives for me is efficiency. I like my Model 3 because it's so efficient and it's so cheap to drive all the miles that I drive. This thing, I mean, right now we're at 481 watt-hours per mile. For comparison, my Model 3 this time of year is using right around 300. So that's a huge increase. I would be increasing my electrical costs to run this car by like 50%, which I guess if you're buying a Model X, you can afford it, but you don't want to. You don't want to pay that extra if you don't have to. For families, this thing is amazing. We did take baby for a drive. We put her little car seat back there, and man, those Falcon Wing doors are just amazing. It's just like opens this gigantic hole, in the side of the car. And I haven't really used a minivan, to put a baby in. But my experience with this versus a minivan is that is even more open than, minivans have that nice big door. But this, it's bigger. There's more room. You can just walk up to it. You just can set stuff or babies or whatever in the car. You don't have to bend over. You're not, kind of leaning, doing all these things. It's just like you're standing in a room. And it is so nice. And then of course there's way more storage. I actually couldn't even figure out how to fold the back seats down. I didn't spend that much time doing it. And when we took baby out, we wanted to, of course have her stroller. And so I just pulled the floor out of the back, and the bottom below the floor is so huge, I could just fit the stroller right in there, no problems at all. You're not gonna get a P90D for a comparable price to a Model 3, but the P in this car, I wouldn't want that. There's a shutter issue, if you've heard of it, where when you accelerate hard in this car, and I had the suspension on low and very low, it happens all the time. Now keep in mind, this is a loaner, and it's in the middle of being worked on at this place, and I don't know what they're working on there. So it might be a little more abused than, a normal Model X that somebody's driving around. But every time that I would kind of launch this thing, and the acceleration is pretty impressive. It's not as impressive as I would think for how expensive the car is. But every time you step on it to take off, the whole car is kind of shaking a little bit, because I guess it's just so hard on that suspension, all that torque. And the suspension in this thing is so creaky. If you watch some of my other videos involving the Model X, you can hear, I didn't know if it would come across on the camera, but you can hear the suspension just creaking as I'm driving and stuff. You don't hear it at a constant speed on the highway, but as you're speeding up, slowing down, turning, things like that, it's just all these creaks. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but it's definitely the suspension. And the car, again, it's a loaner, it is 58,000 miles, but this car was over $100,000 new, and it's only, 4 or 5 years old. So I don't know, it's kind of crazy to me that it's already sounding like that. I hope that normal Model X's don't sound that way. I think I mentioned I have been looking at Model X's around this time. Not that we're gonna buy one, but just kind of dreaming. I would love to have this. So as a family car, if you're not doing a whole ton of driving, it's awesome. I would love to own this car. As a commuter, now coming from gas, of course, it's a lot more efficient and a lot cheaper for the bills, again, if you're comparing a similar priced car. But compared to my Model 3, it uses so much more energy and takes so much longer to charge on the same plug, the same outlet at my house. It's 50% slower or something like that, I think. I wouldn't enjoy this as much for a commuter. Now, it would do great. I mean, it's very comfortable and it would do everything it needs to do. But just knowing how efficient I am in the Model 3, how little energy it takes to run, I kind of feel more comfortable with that. So if you can have a Model 3 and a Model X, that'd be great. Also with the driving, center screen all the way. I don't need any of this. And I kind of thought maybe that's just me. I'm just used to the Model 3. I've been driving it for a long time. But even when my wife drove the Model X, she kind of looked at this thing in the front here and was like, yeah, it's kind of useless. I don't need that. I like how your Model 3 has that. And she doesn't drive my Model 3 all that often. So that kind of made me think, okay, it's not just me. I'm not just kind of biased towards the 3. Other people actually feel that way too. I'm sure a lot of this could also apply to the Model S. It's going to be more efficient than the X, but the driving style, comfort, suspension, all those kind of things are going to be pretty similar. So overall, this has kind of made me happy with my Model 3 purchase. And I'm not sure I would buy a Model X from this year, from 2016. I know, those are some of the earlier ones. They had some problems, and I don't know, it'd be tough. If I could get it maybe at 30,000 miles, so it had some warranty left, I guess that would be okay. But overall, I mean, it's a sweet car. It's great if you got the money. I mean,
why not? Because it's really awesome. It's pretty expensive for what it is, especially with the Model Y coming out. You know, Stephanie was driving this and she was like, oh my gosh, I want this so bad. I love it. It's so great. And then, you know, I laughed because we can't get it. And the next day she said, okay, no Model X, but now I really want a Model Y. So it made her like more excited for the Model Y. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you for watching this one. If you have any questions on things I didn't cover, I'll try to answer them. I mean, I have well over 200 miles in this car by the time this video goes live. So I should be able to answer things pretty decently for you. But as a loaner car, I guess I should put it in that context. This is like amazing, first class, the best you could ever have. You know, normally you get a piece of junk. So I am really appreciative to Tesla for that. I am excited to pick up my Hardware 3, and you will see me in the next video. Thanks for watching.